The morning sun cast long shadows across the manicured lawns of Highgrove House as Queen Camilla adjusted her pearl necklace one final time. Her private secretary Margaret had briefed her on the day's schedule during breakfast, but there was one appointment that hadn't made it onto any official calendar. The helicopter waiting on the estate's private landing pad was supposed to be her ticket to freedom. At least for a few precious hours, Camilla had grown increasingly restless in recent months. The constant scrutiny, the rigid protocols, and the endless stream of official engagements had begun to feel suffocating. Even simple pleasures like visiting her favorite antique shops or having lunch with old friends required extensive security arrangements and media coordination. She longed for the days when she could simply slip away unnoticed, browse through dusty bookshops, or enjoy a quiet afternoon in a countryside pub without photographers lurking behind every corner. The plan had been months in the making. Her trusted pilot, James Morrison, was a former Royal Air Force officer who had served the family for over a decade. He understood discretion better than anyone and had agreed to help arrange what Camilla privately called her great escape. The destination was a small cottage in the Cotswolds that she had purchased years ago under a different name, a place where she could disappear for a weekend without anyone knowing her whereabouts. Standing at her bedroom window, Camilla watched as James performed his pre-flight checks on the sleek blue helicopter. The aircraft looked innocent enough, resembling a corporate transport rather than a royal vehicle. This anonymity was precisely what she had hoped for. Her bag was already packed with casual clothes, comfortable walking shoes, and a few beloved books she had been meaning to read. She had even prepared a cover story about visiting a private health spa, complete with falsified appointment confirmations. The irony wasn't lost on her that someone who lived in palaces and castles yearned for nothing more than a simple cottage with creaky floorboards and a garden she could tend herself. Her friends from before her royal life wouldn't have recognized the woman she had become, always perfectly groomed and diplomatically careful with every word. The cottage represented a return to her authentic self, a place where she could wear old gardening clothes and speak freely without worrying about protocol or public perception. As she descended the grand staircase, Camilla felt a flutter of excitement mixed with nervous anticipation. The household staff had been given their usual instructions for the day, believing she was attending a private medical appointment in London. Only Margaret knew the truth, and even she had been told only the bare minimum necessary for security purposes. The fewer people who knew about the cottage retreat, the better chance Camilla had of actually enjoying some uninterrupted solitude. The helicopter's rotors began their slow rotation as James spotted her approaching across the lawn. Everything was proceeding according to plan, and Camilla allowed herself a small smile of satisfaction. She had successfully navigated the complex web of royal obligations and security protocols to arrange this simple pleasure. In less than an hour, she would be completely anonymous, free to read, walk, and think without interruption. The cottage had no internet connection, no telephone, and no staff. It would be just her, the countryside, and the blessed silence she craved so desperately. Sergeant Michael Thompson had been patrolling the perimeter of Highgrove House for 3 years, and he prided himself on knowing every detail of the estate's security protocols. At 32 years old, he was considered one of the most dedicated members of the Royal Protection Unit, having joined the police force straight from military service in Afghanistan. His colleagues often joked that Thompson could spot trouble from a mile away, but they respected his unwavering commitment to royal safety above all else. Something about the helicopter preparation struck Thompson as unusual. While royal family members frequently traveled by helicopter, the standard security protocols seemed to have been bypassed entirely. No advance team had swept the aircraft, no additional security personnel were positioned around the landing area, and most importantly, Thompson hadn't received any official notification about the Queen's departure. His training had taught him that even seemingly routine flights required extensive coordination between multiple security agencies. Thompson watched from his concealed position near the estate's rose garden as Queen Camilla approached the aircraft. Her body language seemed different from her usual composed demeanor during official travel. Instead of the measured, dignified pace she typically maintained in public, Camilla moved with quick, almost furtive steps. She glanced repeatedly over her shoulder, behavior that immediately triggered Thompson's protective instincts. Years of experience had taught him to recognize when someone was trying to avoid detection, and the Queen's movements displayed classic signs of evasive behavior. The pilot, James Morrison, had served the royal family faithfully for years, but Thompson noticed something troubling about his preparations. Morrison was working alone without the usual ground crew that assisted with royal flights. More concerning was the absence of any flight plan documentation or security clearance, paperwork that should have been processed through proper channels. Thompson's military background had made him acutely aware of aviation security requirements, and this departure violated several standard operating procedures. As the helicopter's engines reached full power, Thompson made a split-second decision that would change everything. His protective instincts overrode all other considerations as he sprinted across the open lawn toward the aircraft. The thunderous noise of the rotors masked his approach, allowing him to reach the helicopter just as it began to lift off the ground. Without hesitation, Thompson launched himself upward, grasping the aircraft's landing skid with both hands and pulling himself partially into the passenger compartment. The helicopter lurched violently as Thompson's unexpected weight distribution threw off the aircraft's balance. Morrison struggled to maintain control as warning lights flashed across his instrument panel. Through the noise and confusion, Thompson could hear Queen Camilla's startled exclamations from the passenger seat. Her carefully planned escape had suddenly transformed into a dangerous situation that threatened everyone aboard the aircraft. Thompson's training kicked in as he focused on securing himself inside the helicopter while trying to communicate with both the pilot and the Queen about the security concerns that had prompted his dramatic intervention. Morrison had no choice but to immediately abort the takeoff and bring the helicopter back down to the landing pad. The aircraft touched down heavily, its skids hitting the ground with more force than usual due to the pilot's rattled nerves and the unexpected passenger. As the rotors began to slow, Thompson could see security personnel running toward them from various points around the estate, alerted by the helicopter's erratic flight pattern and emergency landing. What had started as Queen Camilla's secret escape plan was now becoming a very public security incident that would require extensive investigation and explanation. The immediate aftermath of Thompson's dramatic intervention created chaos across the Highgrove estate. Within minutes, senior security officials, estate managers, and communication specialists converged on the landing area to assess the situation and determine appropriate responses. Queen Camilla emerged from the helicopter visibly shaken, her composed royal facade temporarily abandoned in favor of very human expressions of frustration and embarrassment. Chief Security Officer David Harrison arrived on scene to find his carefully structured security protocols in complete disarray. Harrison had overseen royal protection for over 15 years and had never encountered a situation where a junior guard had physically intercepted a royal family member's travel plans. His immediate priority was understanding whether Thompson had uncovered a genuine security threat or had simply misinterpreted an authorized but discreet royal movement. The distinction would determine whether Thompson deserved commendation or disciplinary action. Thompson found himself in the unprecedented position of having to explain his actions to increasingly senior officials, while Queen Camilla stood nearby, clearly listening to every word of his testimony. He outlined his security concerns methodically, emphasizing the absence of proper flight documentation, the lack of standard security protocols, and Queen Camilla's unusual behavior patterns that had triggered his protective instincts. His military training had taught him to trust his instincts, and those instincts had screamed that something was dangerously wrong with the situation Queen Camilla faced. Her own difficult explanations as Harrison questioned her about the unauthorized flight plan and the cottage destination. Her dreams of a simple, anonymous retreat suddenly seemed naive and potentially reckless when viewed through the lens of royal security requirements. She began to understand that her desire for privacy and freedom carried implications far beyond her personal preferences, affecting the safety protocols designed to protect not just herself but the entire royal institution. The investigation revealed the elaborate lengths Queen Camilla had gone to arrange her secret escape. The cottage purchase under an assumed name, the falsified spa appointment, the careful coordination with pilot Morrison, and the deliberate circumvention of standard security procedures painted a picture of someone desperately seeking freedom from the constraints of royal life. However, Harrison's team also identified numerous potential security vulnerabilities that Queen Camilla's plan had inadvertently created. Morrison faced intense scrutiny regarding his decision to participate in the unauthorized flight. As a veteran pilot with an impeccable service record, his involvement in the scheme surprised many colleagues who had always considered him absolutely reliable and protocol-conscious. During questioning, Morrison admitted that Queen Camilla's obvious distress and her heartfelt pleas for a simple retreat had influenced his decision to bend the rules for someone he had served loyally for many years. The incident forced a comprehensive review of royal security protocols, particularly regarding family members' requests for privacy and unofficial travel arrangements. Security officials realized that the existing systems, while effective for protecting against external threats, had not adequately addressed situations where royal family members themselves might attempt to circumvent protective measures. Thompson's intervention had exposed a significant gap in their security framework that required immediate attention and policy modification. As the day wore on, the full implications of the failed escape attempt became clear to everyone involved. What had started as Queen Camilla's simple desire for a peaceful weekend had evolved into a security incident with far-reaching consequences for royal protection protocols, staff responsibilities, and the delicate balance between royal family members' personal desires and their institutional obligations to maintain appropriate security standards. In a small village, a cat named Whiskers discovered a magic fish in a pond. The fish promised 3 wishes in exchange for its freedom. Whiskers wished for endless fish, a cozy bed, and a bell that rang softly. The fish granted all 3 wishes, and the formal investigation into the helicopter incident began immediately, with investigators from multiple agencies working to understand every aspect of the failed escape attempt. Detective Inspector Sarah Williams, a specialist in royal protection matters, led the inquiry team that would ultimately determine whether criminal charges, disciplinary actions, or policy changes were warranted. Her reputation for thoroughness and discretion made her the natural choice for such a sensitive investigation. Williams began by interviewing each participant separately, starting with Thompson's detailed account of his observations and decision-making process. Thompson's military service record showed exemplary conduct and numerous commendations for protecting civilian personnel in combat situations. His superiors described him as someone who never acted impulsively, making his dramatic leap onto the helicopter even more significant. Williams found Thompson's explanations logical and well-reasoned. Despite the unconventional nature of his intervention, Queen Camilla's interview revealed the depth of her frustration with royal life restrictions and her desperate need for genuine privacy. She described feeling like a prisoner in golden cages, constantly surrounded by staff, security personnel, and public attention that made simple pleasures impossible to enjoy. Her cottage retreat represented more than just a vacation. It symbolized her connection to the person she had been before becoming a royal, someone who could make spontaneous decisions and enjoy unguarded moments. The investigation uncovered extensive planning behind Queen Camilla's escape attempt, including months of careful preparation and coordination with trusted staff members. Margaret, her private secretary, had helped create the false spa appointment and rearrange official schedules to provide the necessary time window. The cottage itself had been purchased 18 months earlier through a complex series of legal arrangements designed to maintain complete anonymity and prevent any connection to the royal family. Williams discovered that Morrison, the pilot, had initially resisted participating in the unauthorized flight but had eventually agreed after. Queen Camilla personally appealed to him during a private conversation. Morrison explained that he had served the royal family faithfully for over a decade and had never seen Queen Camilla so distressed about her circumstances. His loyalty and compassion had ultimately overridden his professional judgment about proper protocols and security requirements. The investigation also revealed significant security vulnerabilities that existed within the current royal protection framework. Williams identified multiple points where better communication, clearer protocols, or enhanced monitoring systems might have detected Queen Camilla's plans before they reached the implementation stage. The incident highlighted the challenge of protecting individuals who possessed intimate knowledge of security procedures and had the authority to influence staff members. Cooperation. Expert consultations with aviation security specialists confirmed Thompson's concerns about the unauthorized flight, the absence of proper flight plans, security clearances, and backup communication systems had created numerous potential danger points that could have resulted in serious consequences. Williams' team concluded that Thompson's intervention, while dramatic and unconventional, had likely prevented a situation that could have endangered Queen Camilla's safety in various ways. As the investigation progressed, Williams began developing recommendations for policy changes that would address the underlying issues revealed by the incident. Her preliminary findings suggested that royal family members needed better channels for requesting privacy and unofficial time away from their duties, while security protocols required modifications to detect and respond to situations where family members attempted to circumvent protective measures for seemingly innocent purposes. The investigation's scope expanded to include reviews of similar incidents in other royal households worldwide, seeking best practices and lessons learned from comparable situations. Williams discovered that the British royal family security challenges were not unique, and several other monarchies had developed interesting approaches to balancing family members' personal needs with institutional security requirements that might inform future policy development. D swam away, leaving Whisker's content and purring in the sun. The investigation's conclusions brought mixed consequences for all parties involved in the helicopter incident. Thompson received both criticism and praise for his actions, with security experts divided about whether his intervention demonstrated exceptional dedication or represented a dangerous breach of protocol. His superiors ultimately decided that his intentions had been honorable and his security concerns valid, leading to a formal commendation rather than disciplinary action. Queen Camilla faced private discussions with senior royal advisors about her future security arrangements and personal freedom requests. The conversations, while respectful, made clear that her position carried responsibilities that extended far beyond her personal preferences. Royal protection existed not just for her individual safety, but to maintain institutional stability and public confidence in the monarchy's security measures. Her escape attempt had inadvertently demonstrated the potential consequences when these protective systems were compromised. Morrison's situation proved more complex, as his participation in the unauthorized flight violated multiple aviation and security regulations. Despite his years of faithful service and Queen Camilla's personal intervention on his behalf, Morrison faced suspension pending a complete review of his security clearance and employment status. The incident forced difficult questions about the balance between personal loyalty to royal family members and professional obligations to establish safety protocols. Margaret, Queen Camilla's private secretary, also faced scrutiny for her role in facilitating the escape plan. Her position required absolute discretion and loyalty to Queen Camilla, but also demanded adherence to security protocols designed to protect both the Queen and the royal institution. The investigation revealed the impossible position that senior royal staff sometimes faced when their loyalty to individual family members conflicted with their broader institutional responsibilities. The incident prompted comprehensive reviews of royal security policies across all family members' activities. Security officials recognized that existing Protocols had been designed primarily to address external threats while neglecting the possibility that royal family members themselves might attempt to circumvent protective measures. New guidelines were developed to better balance personal freedom requests with essential security requirements, creating more flexible but still protective frameworks. Public reaction to news of the incident, which eventually leaked despite efforts to maintain privacy, proved surprisingly sympathetic to Queen Camilla's desire for personal freedom. Many people expressed understanding for her wish to escape the constant scrutiny and restrictions of royal life, while also supporting Thompson's protective intervention. The story humanized Queen Camilla in ways that formal royal appearances had never achieved, showing her as someone who shared common desires for privacy and autonomy. The cottage that had been central to Queen Camilla's escape plan became a symbol of the broader challenges facing modern royalty. Security officials ultimately determined that the property could be used for informal retreats, but only with proper security arrangements and advanced planning that maintained protective standards while respecting Queen Camilla's desire for more relaxed surroundings. The compromise solution required significant modifications to both the cottage and surrounding area to ensure adequate security coverage. Thompson's career trajectory changed significantly following the incident, with his demonstrated initiative and security awareness leading to promotion opportunities within the Royal Protection Unit. His actions had revealed important vulnerabilities in existing systems, and his insights proved valuable in developing improved protocols that better balance security requirements with royal family members' personal needs and preferences. The investigation's findings influenced royal protection strategies throughout the Commonwealth, with other monarchies studying the incident to improve their own security protocols. Thompson's intervention became a case study in professional judgment, protective instincts, and the complex challenges facing modern royal security in an era where traditional barriers between public figures and private citizens continued to evolve and blur. 6 months after the helicopter incident, Queen Camilla finally achieved her dream of a peaceful cottage retreat, but under very different circumstances than she had originally planned. The cottage had been transformed into a secure but comfortable sanctuary where she could enjoy the privacy she craved while maintaining the protective framework that her position required. Modern security technology had been discreetly integrated into the property, allowing monitoring without the intrusive presence of visible security personnel. Thompson found himself in an unexpected position of trust and responsibility following his dramatic intervention. His promotion to senior protection officer came with new responsibilities for developing innovative security protocols that balanced protection requirements with royal family members' personal needs. His military experience and demonstrated initiative made him an ideal candidate for creating more flexible but still effective protective strategies that could adapt to unusual situations. The relationship between Queen Camilla and Thompson evolved into one of mutual respect and understanding. She came to appreciate that his intervention, while initially frustrating, had ultimately protected her from potential dangers she hadn't fully considered. Thompson, meanwhile, gained deeper insight into the personal costs of royal life and the genuine human needs that drove Queen Camilla's desire for freedom and privacy. Morrison eventually returned to royal service after completing additional security training and demonstrating renewed commitment to established protocols. His experience became a valuable teaching tool for other staff members who might face similar conflicts between personal loyalty and professional obligations. The incident helped establish clearer guidelines for situations where staff members received requests that seemed to conflict with security requirements. Margaret's role as private secretary expanded to include liaison responsibilities with security personnel, helping to identify and address royal family members' personal needs before they reached crisis points. Her position became crucial in developing proactive approaches to royal family satisfaction that prevented future unauthorized escape attempts, while maintaining necessary protective Standards. The cottage retreat program became a model for other royal properties, demonstrating that privacy and security could coexist when properly planned and implemented. Queen Camilla's successful visits to the secured cottage proved that royal family members could enjoy meaningful personal time without compromising their safety or institutional responsibilities. The program's success influenced similar initiatives for other family members who expressed desires for more private recreational opportunities. Public perception of the royal family shifted positively following the incident, with many people expressing greater understanding and sympathy for the personal challenges faced by royal family members. Queen Camilla's very human desire for privacy and Thompson's protective dedication resonated with citizens who appreciated both the Queen's humanity and the Guard's commitment to her safety above all other considerations. The incident became a watershed moment in royal protection philosophy, moving from rigid protocols toward more adaptive strategies that could respond to changing circumstances, while maintaining essential security standards. Training programs for royal protection personnel now include scenarios based on the helicopter incident, helping new officers develop judgment skills for complex situations. Where standard procedures might prove inadequate years later, Queen Camilla would look back on the failed helicopter escape as a turning point that ultimately improved her quality of life within the constraints of royal responsibility. The cottage retreats provided the privacy and peace she had desperately sought, while Thompson's intervention had protected her from dangers she hadn't fully appreciated. The incident had transformed a moment of frustration into a lasting solution that served everyone's interests. Thompson continued his distinguished career in royal protection, eventually becoming a respected instructor who taught new generations of security personnel about the importance of initiative, judgment, and the courage to act decisively when circumstances demanded unconventional responses. His leap onto Queen Camilla's helicopter became legendary within protection circles as an example of dedication that went far beyond normal duty requirements, proving that sometimes the most dramatic actions could produce the most positive long-term outcomes.